guys, and welcome back to HR Talks with Leash. I hope you're all doing well. So in today's video, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to stand out as a HR professional working from home. Now, some of you may be working from home full-time, or you may have a hybrid role where you work from home sometimes and sometimes you go into the office. But when you're working from home, sometimes you may feel like you may not be standing out enough and showing yourself in terms of visibility enough in front of your manager, in front of your team members, in order for you to gain that visibility to keep being seen and heard. So in today's video, I want to go through 3 ways in which you can stand out whilst working from home to make sure that you're getting the visibility that you deserve. So, number 1, make sure that you're contributing to team meetings. When you're in a team meeting on that Zoom call, make sure that you are contributing to what is being said in that conversation. I think it's important for us to question a certain point that someone has made, or raise a certain point or a certain concern that you may have. If it's a team meeting, if you're in a meeting where you're trying to scope out what a project looks like, what is your ideas? What do you think you can do to contribute towards that conversation? I think it's important to make sure your voice is heard. There's situations where your manager or the person who's leading the meeting, they're not going to say, what's your opinion? So you've got to take it upon yourself to say, oh, actually, I've got a thought about this point, or, oh, I think we should do it like this, because then that will help people to understand and see, so-and-so's got a valid point that they've made there. And your point may be the starting point for something to be created, whether that be on a project, whether that be an idea about solving a problem that you may have. So I think it's really important to show yourself in terms of visibility when you're working from home. Sometimes pop on that camera, I think, and I can't even speak half the time, because sometimes, for me, when I'm working from home, I do try and put myself together a little bit, but I'm not 100% like the way I would be when I'm at work. So sometimes my hair's not done or whatever, and I'll just have my camera off. But there's certain meetings where I'm like, I know I need to put my camera on this meeting because my presence will be felt more. So if you want your presence to be felt more, I do suggest turning on your camera. But the main thing really is having your voice heard and speaking, even if that's just making one point in that team meeting or one point in that call that you're a part of. At least you're going to be heard. I actually listened to, I think I was watching a TikTok the other day, and it was this person who is working in corporate, and basically he was invited to a boardroom meeting, but the manager who told him he could come to it said, oh, you can just join from home. And then he was like, oh, if the meeting's happening in person in London and I live in London, then I'm just going to go to the meeting with you. And then the manager was like, okay, cool, you can just take some notes. But do you know what this person did when he was in the boardroom meeting? And he was full of CEOs, executives, important senior people. They were talking about a certain subject, and he had something to say about it. So he decided to say, look, this is my thought on this problem. And then one of the senior members were like, oh, that's actually a good point. I think we need to consider that. And it's like, imagine if he didn't say that, then who knows? And by doing that, he's building himself up to success within his role and more promotions. So this is why I think it's very important, if you're in a meeting, speak up on that call. Number 2, ensure that you understand what your scope and responsibilities are. I say this so many times, but I think it's so important to understand what is your scope, what is your responsibility, what are you in charge of in your role? Because if you know exactly what you're in charge of, that means that you can take that information away and look at, okay, this is the job that I'm doing. What improvements could I be making for this? What are the challenges of my role currently, and what can we do to make things better? How can I maybe implement something to make a certain process quicker, right? I think one thing about being visible in a company, and this applies to anybody, even if you're working from home or not, but one thing that I realized that you need to do is you need to be able to innovate. Once people know that you're an innovator, that is when you're going to get seen in a business, trust me. So You can go to work and you can do your job, and you can do your job well. And sometimes that's enough for people, and that's okay. But I think if you want to get that visibility, especially if you're working from home, you need to find solutions to problems that people have not really thought about. And if they have thought about it and something's been done before, how can you try and improve it? I would say I'm an innovator. So I actually shared recently on my Instagram story that I was feeling a bit confused in my role and a bit uncomfortable, and because I felt like I was a little bit isolated in what I'm doing. But I really sat down and thought about my scope and responsibility. And because I'm in a new role, I'm in a new specialized role, there are things that have been done before that need improving, and I've been trusted to do that. So I see myself now as an innovator based on the scope and the responsibility that I have. And because of that mentality, it allows me to be more visible. I'm talking to so many different people in this organization. I'm going to be speaking to some of the executives soon to understand from them what they need based on the topic I'm focusing on. And for that, that's around career development. So how can you understand that? How can you ensure, that you know your scope and responsibilities so that you can innovate? Have conversations with your manager. Very, very, very important. If you're not speaking with your manager, and it works both ways, but sometimes your manager may be really busy. They've got such a big team to manage, and they don't have enough time to scope out specific calls for you. That's when you need to do the work. You need to jump in and you need to book that meeting. And that, I'm talking from experience, because this is what happened to me. My manager's very busy. She's managing a very big team right now in terms of business partners. I haven't had a chance to speak to her and I'm feeling uncomfortable. What did I do? I spoke to her and I said, look, I need to understand how the scope and my responsibilities is going to link and interlink in with what we're doing currently, so that I can be more of an innovative person based on what I'm doing, and make sure I'm sharing what I'm doing with the rest of my colleagues in a way where the initiatives that I put together will be seen and recognized by everyone. So that's my second point. Ensure that you understand your scope and responsibilities if you're working from home. And finally, my final point is involve yourself in specific projects across the organization. Now, I say that because I think working from home, especially if you are involving yourself in projects that are happening in either your department, so within the HR department, or if there's any projects that are happening that are not specifically related to the HR department, but you can get involved in it and you get to meet other people in the organization, that is a bonus. When you get involved in projects and you're liaising and working with people from different departments in the organization, when they see the work that you do within that project and how you communicate with them, you build a relationship and a bond. So those people are going to know you, they're going to see you. And if there's anything important that pops up that they think, oh, you know what, so-and-so would be really good in this project as well, because I was working with them here, that's going to really help you to gain your visibility if you're working from home as well. I think you can still engage with people. Just because you're working from home doesn't mean you can't engage with people. I was working from home for 8 months when I started as a HR intern. Think about that. I've just started my career and I'm working from home. I'm not liaising with anybody. How am I going to get myself into the right spaces? Now, I'd say one, my manager was important in that because she kind of told me who I needed to speak to. But two, sometimes I was just thinking and figuring things out myself. So if I knew I involved myself in this project, I'm going to create a relationship with this person, and that's going to be a continuous relationship. A lot of the projects I've been involved in, the colleagues that I've met around that, I'm still engaging and connected with them. And I think that that's really important. I think you need to think about things outside the box. Like, okay, yes, you're involving yourself in a project. You know, you may not know exactly how things work and how to kind of move forward with this project, but in the long term, I'm building relationships, I'm learning from other people, and this is going to help me to gain more visibility and grow in my profession. So I would say, to round everything off, it does not matter if you're working from home or you're working hybrid or you're working full-time in the office. You can still be a visible individual. It's just about how you make those connections. I also think, just as a side point as well, I feel like if you've got like an active community at work, and if you're able to share like research, like stories, articles, information that you really think is important to you, but also could be beneficial to the business. Share what you can share, because people from different parts of the organization will comment on that. They can reach out to you on that. It could turn into a project. It could turn into an initiative that hasn't been thought about. There's so many ways of connecting with like-minded people in your organization. You've just got to put yourself out there. And another side note as well, sorry, if you want to learn more about something and you want to understand a specific area in more detail, you've got to reach out to people. I think it's something that it doesn't come easily. I think when you kind of, especially if like you're working from home and it's easier for you to kind of meet people in person and see people in the office and talk to them rather than just sending them an email. But trust me, if you send someone an email and say, look, I can see that you are very specialized in this area as a HR professional, and I really want to learn more about it. Can I book in a call with you so we can just talk a little bit more around that? This all links back to proactivity, guys. I think it's really important to be very proactive if you want to be seen and be visible, and working from home should not be any different. You still have a chance and an opportunity to connect, to collaborate, to be visible, to be seen, to be heard. So I hope that all of these tips that I've kind of gone through today kind of help you, give you a bit more motivation and inspiration to think about how you can specifically be visible whilst working from home in your organization. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.